Welcome. My name is Jack Rome, and on behalf of the Center for Awakening, I'm glad to welcome you to Meet the Speaker, a live series with speakers from the upcoming 3-day online immersive conference, Awaken Stillness, The End of Dreaming, taking place from November 8th to 10th. This series is designed to give you a brief taste of the direct experience that you can expect from each session during the conference. Louise Kay is a spiritual teacher deeply passionate about supporting people to live a life of presence and unconditional love. During her 15 years as an English teacher, she began to question the deeper meaning of life, and she later found a strong resonance with the teachings of non duality. After experiencing profound spiritual awakening, she began traveling around the world to share this gift while deepening and integrating the initial awakening. Nowadays, Louise holds group events and retreats online and around the world, including open Zoom meetings every Saturday and Sunday that you can attend. Louise's conference session is titled Embodied Awareness in the Now. Her session will invite you to bring your attention fully present into the now in order to transcend the conceptual self and open to a deeper dimension of being.
So this is an opportunity to have a little taste of what embodied awareness is. So make yourself comfortable for this. See if you can, just for 10 minutes, be here fully present with me without any distractions. And bring all your attention fully present into this moment right now. Just notice the movements of your body as it's breathing. Just observe it. Notice any sounds, maybe inside the building or outside. And see if you can sense a stillness that's here. That's beyond sounds and sense perceptions, like an underlying presence. You might notice it in the spaces between sounds, or the spaces between my words or sentences. Notice the sensation of your body where it touches the chair, your feet where they touch the ground. And see how it is to be here, fully present now, without any identity of a story of me. So that means you're just here as awareness, aware. And you're aware that perceiving is happening in this moment. You might notice that thoughts appear. And those thoughts are perceived. And whenever a thought appears, don't give interest in the content of what the thought says. Remain very present, very still, just witnessing the thought. And you'll notice that the thought comes and then it goes. But you, awareness, don't come or go. You don't move or change. You're always here now. And your nature is very peaceful. As your attention rests very gently, effortlessly in the present moment, just being, allow your attention to drop into the body so that you're including the experience of the body as a live sensations. Just notice what it feels like. Allow the body to be fully felt and experienced as sensation without any story, without labeling any experience. And totally and completely let go of any agendas, any ideas that anything should happen, anything shouldn't happen. So there's no waiting for anything to happen. You're just meeting what's here now very intimately. You're this open space, and experiences are appearing in you, the aware space. And there's no effort to control these experiences. There's just allowing of what comes to come and what goes to go. So there's nothing that you need to do. There's a letting go and a relaxing into beingness. When your attention is focused in this way, a presence can be felt. And that presence is an opening to a deeper dimension, a dimension of beingness, which is transcendent of the conceptual self, it's transcendent of thoughts. And it's always available, it's always here now. Which means that peace is always accessible to you. And it's not dependent on circumstances, on your life situation, on thoughts, on emotions, or anything external. It's not dependent on any experience. In fact, it's your very nature. You are this peace. This is the essence of what you are. This pure consciousness. So I'd like to invite you to join me for this session where we will dive deeper into this exploration. And I will guide you to know yourself as pure consciousness, not as a mental understanding, but to directly, experientially know this truth.
Jenny Beal is a spiritual untangler, considering openness to examining and abandoning all belief systems to be the principal prerequisite for the understanding of our true nature. In Jenny's view, aligned with the direct path teachings, the spiritual path has no beginning or end, nor is there any distinction between spiritual life and life in the world, as we call it. When asked a question, she temporarily becomes a teacher. Otherwise, she remains a student and enjoyer of all that is. So, Jenny's conference session is titled Discovering the Reality of the Illusory World. Her session will explore the questions: what is reality? How can we distinguish between the real and the unreal? Is there more than one reality? And does understanding the ultimate reality of ourselves and the world lead to happiness? This session will appeal particularly to those who have had a glimpse of their true nature, but maybe now feel stuck.
Most spiritual paths are really start with improving the body mind. So there's a kind of a assumption that there's something that needs to be improved. The direct path goes as directly as possible for an individual to the understanding of what they really are. So it does vary from one individual to another. And the main thing that blocks awakening is the beliefs that people hold, and often they don't even realize that something is a belief, but it's something that's actually blocking their understanding. So this is it's a path of understanding, and it's a path of debunking beliefs for which you have no evidence. That's really what a belief
Mm,
is. It's something you hold to be true, but you actually have no conclusive evidence about it.
mm. Yeah, so we carry these beliefs that we may not even be aware that we're carrying, and
Yes.
we don't really have any conclusive evidence for them. If, if I'm to start that process, what does the beginning of that process look like of sort of untangling and even examining the beliefs that I didn't realize I'm holding?
Right. Well, the first belief that many people have, but in fact, I think a lot of the conference attendees will have already got past. But the first belief really is the belief that what I am is this limited body and mind. And that's the first one that we debunk, and it's very simple to debunk that one, because um, we are that which is aware of our body and our mind. We're aware of the thoughts that go on in our mind. We're aware of the sense perceptions that pass through our minds. We're aware of our body. We can see at least parts of our body, and we have bodily sensations which give us an awareness of body. So we can't really be what we are aware of. And if you think about what is meant by I, what you mean when you say I, you're really referring to something which is very much more permanent than a body and a mind. Now, the mind is always changing. Where there's a flow of thoughts and sense perceptions, bodily sensations going on all the time. It's always changing. But the body also is always changing. It's taking in air, it's taking in food. It's totally interconnected with the universe. And the universe is always changing, and our body is always changing. But there's something about I, there's something that we all feel within us has has never changed. Is always the same from the moment when we were tiny babies up to the moment now. And so that's really what we point people to right at the very beginning of the path.
Mm. When I was looking over your session and what you're going to cover in the session, I'm particularly struck by the the idea or the statement of the reality of the illusory world, and also the seeing that there's with the direct path teaching, you come to maybe acknowledge or be aware of the fact that there's no meaningful distinction between the the non-dual reality and the reality, so to speak, of the world, the illusory world we live in. What do you mean by the reality of the illusory world, particularly for a lot of us that might say, no, the world's illusory, so it's not real, and I need
Right,
to, you
yes.
know what I mean? So
I do.
could you, yeah.
It's actually it's a reference to a quote from a Zen master from a very long time ago, called Huang Po. And what he said was that people neglect the reality of the illusory world. And what he was talking about was that we're always concerned with that which is changing, everything around us which is changing, and we give very little attention or significance to the unchanging. But actually, the unchanging is what we are. Now, some people do say that the world is totally illusory, but that's not really what the non-dual path actually says. There's different ways of looking at it. There are some non-dual teachers who take an idealist position, and in that case, they feel that the world is really made out of mind. There's nothing outside of mind. If they're talking about their individual mind, usually they won't be, but if they were, then they would be solipsists. But more usually they're talking about some concept of a universal mind. But in other words, everything is made out of thought in a way. We can't actually show that's the case. We really have no evidence that's the case. There's another position, which is the realist position, which is also consistent with non-duality, and that really says, well, yes, we perceive two realms. There's a realm of mind, and there's the realm of physical objects. And the realist position is rather nice because it fits very beautifully with science. And so science explores the physical world, and they have explored it. And what's so very beautiful is that when you look deep and deep and deep and deep into what scientists have previously called matter, you find that it kind of all evaporates, and you're just left with what's called a quantum fields, and quantum fields are really like probability fields, and little particles, packets of energy will come into them, go out of them, appear, disappear, all the time. So you feel by going through that scientific path, you feel that ultimately everything is a field of probability or field of possibility. And now, if you look at mind, on the other hand, the other realm, then mind is really just a flow of bodily sensations, sense perceptions, thoughts, images. And if we ask ourselves, well, what are those? What are those occurring in? And they're occurring in a kind of mind space. And isn't that terribly similar to the physical space? So you can come to a kind of feeling understanding that maybe those two spaces are one, or certainly that they could be one. And so the reality of the physical world, the reality of the mental world is the same reality. And then you come to the conclusion there is only one reality.
Doesn't matter which way you go.
It doesn't matter which way you
And
go.
it just the only thing it it seems to end up with is a little bit of laughter about it, you know?
Yes, yes. Mm.
Um, it's so beautiful to hear you describe the way that the the path, you could say, or the exploration of science and of the material world, of I guess the reality of this so-called illusory world, takes you to the same truth.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing a little bit and answering my questions. I could certainly ask you more, but I also want to save our exploration for when we get to have the session. One last question that I have for you that I'm curious how you would answer this, if there's a way to answer this, is what would you say is the way that the people, those of us attending your session, should do or maybe shouldn't do to prepare for it?
I don't think there's necessarily anything to do in advance to prepare, but it's really about coming in openness and not being afraid to to ask questions. This path is about questioning. And when people first come, most people who come to the direct path, they come from another progressive path. It might be A Course in Miracles, it might be Buddhism, it might be traditional Advaita Vedanta. All of those are sort of starting points for people. And they come from there. And initially, if you say, well, have you got any questions? They will just want to tell you about how they are awakened and they've realized this and everything is absolutely wonderful. But there's something missing there. There's still something missing. And they're not asking about something missing. So, but there will be, because this path is a never-ending path. There is always something more to explore. So really to say to people, well, just ask your questions. Anything, any issue where you find it difficult to apply your understanding, the understanding from your awakening experience in your ordinary life, any difficulties there, anything that doesn't seem to gel, ask about it. Anything that you don't really understand or you feel isn't quite right about the idea of non-duality itself, whether it is just a dream or whether there is something real, ask about that. So just be prepared to ask, because the majority of the session will be question and answer.
John Mundy is the publisher of Miracles Magazine and director of the All Faiths Seminary Miracle Studies program in New York City. He taught university courses in philosophy and religion from 1967 to 2008. And as the author of 11 books, his best-selling book is Living A Course in Miracles, now in 8 languages. He was introduced to the course by its scribe, Dr. Helen Schuckman, in 1975. John's conference session is titled Awakening in the Dream. His session acknowledges that before we can fully awaken from the dreams of our world, it is helpful to begin to awaken within the dream. We can then begin to responsibly develop some control over the dream, within the dream, until we can awaken altogether.
Well, first of all, the overall topic is awakening in stillness. But interesting enough, I've been talking for a while already about awakening in the dream, because this is a concept that is hardly new. It's as ancient Hindu and Buddhist teachings, and even before that, going back really as far as we can into the Vedas, for example. Right? So the idea is, and this is in the Course in Miracles very, very clearly, that this whole world is a dream. Now, it's easy enough to see that we make it up, just like we make up a dream at night. Now, when you're dreaming at night, a story happens, something happens. You're in a hotel. Recently, I had this dream that I was in a hotel somewhere, and it was a really big hotel, and I couldn't find the exit. I mean, that is a very typical dream. You can't find the exit, or you missed your plane, or whatever it is that's going on. There's some little frustration element that's in there, something you got to do that didn't get done. So dreaming has been an important concept for all of human consciousness. Go back to the Bible. Joseph has the dreams, for the Pharaoh about what's going on. The ancients like to look at their dreams a lot. Joseph is told in a dream to take Mary and Jesus and to flee into Egypt, right? So often the shepherds are told in dreams, the wise men get messages in dreams. There's nothing new about dreams. In fact, as Sigmund Freud said, that dreams are the royal road to the unconscious. If we want to start knowing what's going on with somebody, you want to get into that unconscious, you got to look at the dreams because they're coming up. And then, of course, beyond that, Jung says we got to get to the collective dream. The collective dream, for example, of mythologies. So we take a mythology, we take a story. Again, it's a story, and we look at it and we figure out what the meaning is. Take, for example, the story of Adam and Eve. There's an interesting line in the beginning of the Course in Miracles where it says that a deep sleep fell upon Adam. This is says in the Bible, a deep sleep fell upon Adam, and nowhere is there any reference to his waking up. Right? So we're all Adam. And we're all still dreaming. And we're dreaming, the Course in Miracles says, your nighttime dream, your daytime dream, it has a different form. That's all. So we're dreaming in the daytime. We're actually dreaming, right? And we're dreaming that we're doing this interview. I'm giving this talk and you're listening to it. All that stuff is going on within the context of the dream. When Buddha has his great enlightenment, right? He comes back to the deer park at Benares, and the disciples, he has disciples already, but they had left him because he got worldly. He started eating, you know. So they left him. And then once he's by himself, he has the awakening experience, the enlightenment experience. He goes back to the deer park at Benares. They see him coming, and they say, there's something different about you. What is it? And his answer is, I'm awake. I'm awake. I woke up. Woke up. So to wake up in that sense, like when you wake up in the morning, you may be very much aware that you're having a dream during the night, but you're also very much aware of the fact that you are now transitioning from the dream state to the awakening state. By the way, I think it's really important for us to pay attention to our nighttime dreams. And the best way to do it is just to wake up slowly. Don't just jump out of bed, but try to, I'm dreaming. Okay, what am I dreaming? Begin to review the dream within the context of the dream. See very often if there's some kind of message that's coming for you as well. I write a lot, and I mean, I write every Sunday. I have an article, and seeing how I've got to have that done by Saturday, in order for it to be published on Sunday mornings. And I want to look at what's coming up there because the ideas are fresh, they're new. There's often like just a word or a phrase, And yesterday it was the futility of the ego. And this has to do with politics, right? I'm not going to get into politics. I want to talk about a dream. I mean, there's a dream for you. I mean, that's a dream world for sure, right? But it's an ego's dream world, right? So we create a world, we create a fantasy world, but it is a fantasy world. So what the Course in Miracles is trying to do, it's trying to help us, just like in the ancient days, to wake up slowly, gently. If you wake up too suddenly, and especially if it's a frightening dream that's going on, you don't know what's going on. But this idea is nothing new, as I said. I don't know if you know G.R. Gurdjieff, a philosopher from the early part of the 20th century, said everybody is sleepwalking. You can see everybody's sleepwalking, so we got to do something to help wake people up. So it's not a matter of waking from the dream. Eventually, it's waking from the dream. But what I'm interested in talking to people about in the first place is just awakening in the dream. So if I awaken in the dream, this is like lucid dreaming. So if you have a lucid dream, what's going on in the lucid dream is that you're aware of the fact that you're dreaming within the context of the dream. So that's very helpful. If you can just watch and you get to see that this is kind of it's a play that's going on. This is a story. This is a drama maybe that's going on, and am I getting caught in the dream? Am I playing into the dream? Am I getting upset about what's going on? Or can I, what the conference is about, come to stillness in the dream? And if I can come to stillness in the dream, then that's very, very helpful because then I can see the dream without becoming attached to the dream. So, of course, in Miracles, for example, says that anger is never justified. Never. The word is never, never justified. And then the next paragraph, first sentence is attack has no foundation. Anger is never justified. Attack has no foundation. So that means that if I'm getting into that state, if I see that state of consciousness developing inside me, I really want to stop. And I want to look and think, why am I going there? Why would my mind want to go into anger? Is there some sort of justification for my anger, my attack thoughts that I'm having? That's just getting deeper into the dream. In fact, as the deeper you get into that kind of dreaming, the more justification you may think that you have to go to war or do some awful thing within the context of the dream, which is really, wait, stop, stop, stop. You're going way too far with this silly dreaming stuff. But if I can wake up, then what happens is I accept responsibility for the dream. Oh, this is my dream. I'm having this particular dream. So another thing that's very, very important in the Course in Miracles is an emphasis on responsibility. So chapter 21, section 2 in the Course, there's a thing I ask all the students I work with on a regular basis to memorize. It's just 3 sentences, but 4 ideas. I am responsible for what I see. I choose the feelings I experience. I decide upon the goal I would achieve, and everything that seems to happen to me, I ask for, and I receive as I have asked. So I'm having this experience. So I asked for this screaming kid to be screaming at me right now. Okay, well, you did. I mean, this is your grandson. And so what are you going to do? How do you respond to the screaming kid? Well, you can go crazy, or you can think about where he's at, and you can sit down with him. Don't scold him. That just makes it worse. Yeah, sit down with him. And the fact is, I lived through this not long ago. So, so got 2 grandchildren here at the house. All right, and it's one of them birthday, and the birthday boy gets the Star Trek guy, Buzz Lightyear, I should say, right? The model. And his older brother picks it up and starts playing with it just like it. My toy, my toy. You know, now we got a fight going on, right? Now we got anger going on. And then he runs off and he falls on the couch and he starts crying. And I realize what has to be done right away, which is, first of all, don't attack him. Let him be who he is. That's a very important concept, of course. Let him be who he is. Seek not to make of love an enemy. So he's laying on the couch now, kicking his feet in the air like this, right? So I just go and I sit on the couch next to him. I don't do it, just sit next to him. And then he eventually stops kicking. And then I reach out and just touch his back a little bit. Just touch it. Don't do anything, just touch it, right? And then a couple minutes later, he's turning around, he's putting his head in my lap. It's all over. Nothing happened, right? So it's dealing with the insanity that also exists in the world. The world is filled with insanity, right? The Course is very clear. This is an insane world, and never underestimate the extent of its insanity. I mean, all you got to do is look at what's going on right now. We're at a peak point of insanity internationally with wars, nationally with what's going on in our political system, right? Now, do I go crazy because the world is crazy, or can I maintain my sense of equilibrium? Let things be what they are. Whatever's going to happen is what's going to happen. We'll live through this one way or the other. But but lucidity means a lot. Lucidity means more than that. Lucidity also means things like balance and honesty, transparency, clarity, right? The word lucidity means clarity, right? To be clear in the dream so that I am living a life that that I'm not going crazy, first of all. And I know how to take care of the piece of the world that is going crazy, partly by letting it be what it is, but partly also by learning to love the thing, you know? The answer isn't fight, fight, fight. The answer is let all things be exactly there. Love what's going on. That's the answer. So it's really simple, but it's a matter of doing it. And it's really a matter of raising our level of consciousness and awareness up to the point where we can see what's going on in the world, in all of our relationships. And this is relationships in terms of A Course in Miracles. This is the place, this is the training ground. This is where most of the work gets done, right? And so be careful, by the way, about who you choose as your partners in life, because just keep in mind, this is your trainer. So this is the person you're going to be learning the most from, right, in terms of your own personal psychic growth and development. So choose our teachers well, because that's what's going to be. It's going to be, this is a teacher that I'm going to be working with. It's very simple in that sense. It's just a matter, the course has got so many principles that we begin, for example, I won't go through them. We don't have time. 10 characteristics of a teacher of God. If you practice each of these principles, well, I'm not going to go through them. We don't have time. But the first one is trust. And there are 6 stages in development of trust. I'm not going to go through all of them. But the first 3 are all about relinquishing, undoing, sorting out, letting go, relinquishing. It's disrobing, letting the ego go. That's the primary thing. Recognizing the ego in me, not in you. It's easy enough to find it in you. The hard part is finding it, being willing to recognize it in me, and then going through that process of relinquishing, letting it go, surrendering it, and then doing the responsible thing. It's so simple. The next step, I won't go through it, is honesty. But this world needs honesty so very badly, you know. Well, anyhow, I think we're about the end of our time. I don't have an exact clock to look at to time it, but that's what this is all about. Awakening in the dream, seeing the dream, being the authentic being that you and I were meant to be, not as dreamers, but as, in Course in Miracles terms, the Christ mind. That's Buddha saying, I'm awake. Jesus, he doesn't say anything till after that wandering in the wilderness experience. No ministry till after that experience first. He goes out, he has that experience. And by the way, you go spend 40 days and 40 nights alone in the desert, you're going to have an experience. It's for sure. And fast during this time, you will definitely have an experience, right? He comes back from that, and not till that point does he say anything by way of ministry. And what he says at that point, the first words are, I and the Father are one. Whoa, what a revelation. You and the Father are one. I and the Father are all are one. But to get to that level, that's phenomenal. Most of us can't begin to get to that level because we are so distracted by the world. I had this wonderful experience with COVID. I was 24 days locked in a room. I had a pretty bad case. I almost died. 3 different doctors all said, we thought you weren't going to make it, right? 3/4 of the way through that, I thought I was going to die. And I had this thing at one night, 2, 3 o'clock, I don't know what, sometime in the morning, I heard a voice. And the voice said very clearly, go or stay, either way, You will not lose your mind. That's all it said. Just that. But that was so comforting. Go or stay, either way. You're not going to lose anything. One thing you cannot lose. You cannot lose your mind.
We just hope that you'll join us at the Awaken Stillness Conference. It'll be from November 8th to 10th for more direct experience teaching.